Hey, folks, there's an extra enemies list segment tonight, a bonus segment, if you will. It's not the Q&A segment that we do a lot. I would like to put three people on the enemies list that weirdly MAGA would put them on the enemies list too. Those three people are Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. First, I want to tell you a quick story about Dan Bongino. Dan came up to me one day in LaGuardia Airport, and it was freaky. It was weird. I didn't feel like he was like introducing himself. It felt like he was hitting on me. It was very off-putting. It was very odd. And so Dan goes online and says, Rick Wilson is 5'2" and smells bad and has dandruff and he's weird. It's the strangest persecution of me. And it's like, it's so trivially weird. And just so you know, I'm 5'10". I'm pretty clean. I don't really stink like that. Bald as a fucking egg, Dan. I don't have dandruff. But it was weird. It felt like he was hitting on me more than like introducing himself. It was a very strange day. Never had a great relationship with Danny Bongdildo, as I call him. But look, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino right now are very, very much on the shit list of MAGA. Why is that, you asked? Why are they on the MAGA's enemies list and ours? Well, they're on the MAGA enemies list because they're covering up the Jeffrey Epstein material. They're hiding what's inside the Jeffrey Epstein files. They're using their power to erase those files, to hide those files from the people. I can't imagine that Donald Trump, who appears in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photographs with Jeffrey Epstein, who partied with Epstein for decades, who flew on Epstein's jet multiple times, who was a running buddy in the Manhattan Poon Olympics, for lack of a better word, who shared the same taste. You know, Donald Trump would go in and skis on young girls, teenage girls who were getting dressed in the Miss USA pageant. And Jeffrey Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein, a monster and a predator and a creep and a weirdo and a sex trafficker. A lot of MAGAs like to say, oh, well, Trump was undercover. He was investigating Epstein. He cut Epstein off. Donald Trump did not break with Jeffrey Epstein until after all this shit was known. He broke with Epstein over a real estate deal, not because of Epstein's degenerate character, because Donald Trump has the same degenerate character. All these MAGAs, all these QAnoners, all these weirdos, they thought, the Epstein files are the Rosetta Stone of all the globalist elite cannibal pedophile child trafficking, which, by the way, it has always struck me that these people, when they must have the best selective filter in the world, because the people I mostly see online who are arrested for these things, the profile of them is a Republican evangelical Christian youth pastor. The profile of these people is MAGA county or state Republican officials. But anyway, they thought this was some sort of like secret Rosetta Stone that would dismantle the Democratic deep state and blah, 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 and prove that Hillary Clinton ran a cannibal pedophile sex trafficking ring from a pizza restaurant in DC. It's all made up. It's all bullshit. There is sex trafficking in the world. It's a monstrous fucking crime. And if we were devoting more of our energy to that than covering up Donald Trump's role in the Epstein files, as Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel are doing right now, we might be able to approach that problem. The irony here is that in the case of Bongino and Patel, you can go back and look at their jajillion podcasts talking about things like this, pretending that Epstein they were going to bring justice. He was killed by Hillary Clinton, all these things. Now, Dan Bongino this week is, Jeffrey Epstein, he committed suicide, which is, by the way, I think the correct answer. If Hillary Clinton had killed Jeffrey Epstein, it would have looked a lot neater, a little bit more organized. In fact, I could make an argument that Donald Trump had a better reason to kill Jeffrey Epstein than Hillary Clinton did. Wow, that was very conspiratorial, wasn't it? But I'm in a conspiratorial mood. But look, these people are covering this up. They're covering it up because Donald Trump was involved in this guy at a much greater degree than a lot of other people were. You know, this nothing burger bullshit that James O'Keefe, the dildo king, James O'Keefe, you could look it up. You'll figure it out. He's been doing this like expose. It's going to change the world. It's been a bunch of nothing burgers from case files and pictures of the Epstein Island compound. There's no smoking gun revealed by any of these people because those smoking guns lead back to Trump. A lot of them. Not all. Because Epstein was a degenerate and a criminal and a scumbag. You know, it's interesting. Why would Donald Trump, after quote unquote breaking from Jeffrey Epstein, pluck out of complete obscurity prosecutor who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal? A guy named Alex Acosta. In the first administration, out of nowhere, no one knew who the fuck this guy was. Out of nowhere, he becomes labor secretary. I mean, out of nowhere. People in DC are like, fuck is this guy? But somehow Trump did that. This is the stuff that's being covered up, guys. Yes, there's a lot of horrifying material, I'm sure, in the Epstein files that's absolutely grotesque and should be redacted, especially regarding underage women. 100%. Epstein was a monster. No one's pro Jeffrey Epstein. Again, the conspiracy world, the MAGA world, they are very, very angry at Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. And they should be, because these people were part of the lie architecture that convinced these conspiracy types that this was all real. And now they think they can turn on a dime and pretend that it's not. They're all on the enemies list. They're permanently on the enemies list as a general rule, especially Bongino, who is a mendacious weirdo. And he literally, look at his head. It looks like a ham that's just been taken out of a can. It is the strangest shaped head, and it literally looks like a ham. But look, these people are on the enemies list on our side because they caused this conspiracy. They promoted this conspiracy. They lied to these MAGA people who believed this conspiracy. And now the uppance has come, and they are on the enemies list. Hey, folks, you can follow me on all the places under the Rick Wilson. That would be Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, Twitter, which I'm back on Twitter because boy, Elon apparently changed his mind after he has been exiled and humiliated. He apparently let me back on Twitter. So God bless America. My strategy there, by the way, these days is to basically walk in, roll a metaphorical grenade into the room and leave, because it is a Nazi bar, and that's how you deal with Nazi bars. You can also catch me on Substack. I host the strategy session on Tuesday nights on Lincoln Square. I host the breakdown on Thursday nights with Maya May. I have 2 Enemies List podcasts every week. I have 2 Lincoln Project podcasts every week. I have the Elephant in the Room podcast on Fridays, and I have 3 or 4 other full-time jobs that I always do. So with that, appreciate all your support. Thank you so much. This podcast has been growing. We've grown 11% in the last couple of weeks. That is a big bump. And we appreciate everybody for listening, tuning in, liking, sharing, doing all the things, and making this podcast an important place for us to put people on the enemies list. Thanks. See you next time.